Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. As you can tell by the title, we are talking about Heated Rivalry. Now, if you didn't know, I have been reacting to this series on my Patreon page. All 6 episode reactions are up right now. Here's a little preview of my reaction to episode 6. Oh!
Oh, fuck up.
Okay, I knew the parents would come up here.
This is my actual fucking nightmare.
Shane. What?
Maybe it's time to wake up, yes?
Oh, you know what?
Maybe he didn't even notice.
That is not gonna help.
Oh, they don't know I play for Boston.
Me? Shane? I'm sorry, you shouldn't have found out that way.
Oh, okay, well,
Found out what, exactly?
I'm gay. Yeah, and this is Ilya.
they know Ilya.
Rosanov.
They know.
But you already know that.
Yeah.
Right.
You hate him.
We just can't come out and, announce it.
That's what Scott did.
You have such a reputation as a lady. It's not untrue.
Oh, okay, this is precious. Okay, guys, this is hold on, y'all, hold on.
That I made you feel like you couldn't tell me.
Oh my God, it's gonna be okay. You have literally a support system right here.
Your boyfriend is here.
What's your boyfriend? What's your boyfriend? Come on. Now, I would love for you guys to check out my Patreon page. I have other series that I watch on there. K-dramas, reality shows, all that good stuff. So if you want to help support the channel and get extra content, that's the best way to do so. So I decided it's been too long since I did one of these everything wrong with review videos. If you're new here, this is a series I started because of the YouTuber Amanda BB. Same concept as what she does is I go through the show by going through each character and talking about character by character. And I decided since I just watched the last episode of Heated Rivalry, I would just do it for this show. And I probably won't go back to do older shows, but I kind of want to, moving forward, do these for future series. Like I should have done it for Boots and maybe for Cherry Magic or, stuff like that. I should have done it. But I think moving forward, I might try to get these done because you guys seem to like it, and I appreciate all the love and support you guys have been giving me on this channel, even though this channel in particular has been neglected for a while. But you can always see me on Patreon, so become a patron today. So like I said, I'm going to go through character by character. I'm not going to do every character is going to get a spotlight on here, but if I talk about a character and there's people that orbit around them, like maybe Kip and his dad, his dad will be during the Kip section. You know what I mean? That's how I'll work that out, okay? And everyone else will get their own spotlight little section here, as you'll see in the video. So, with all that being said, let's get right into it. Okay, so the first character we have is how you pronounce her name? Savannah. So this character here, I like her. She's not a POV character. She's a supporting character in Ilya's narrative. His best friend, sometimes lover, confidant. I will say a lot of these female characters, they all occupy the same space. They have the same role in the story, or they have the same role in the characters' lives as each other. They're like the support system. I saw online that she is considered one of the best girls, and I would agree with that. First of all, I think the actress who plays her is stunning. I've seen her IG, and I'm like, whoa, whoa. And she's giving information on the show, behind the scenes stuff. So I like that she does that. But as far as the character go, I really liked her. I think from what it seemed like, she knew about Shane. I think there's more context to her character, more things going on with her in the book. But in the show, she isn't given that much of a spotlight, so we're not sure what she knows. But she knows about, what's the characters? The alias? Jane? Is it Jane or Lily? I think Shane is Jane and Ilya's phone. And she been knew, she been peeped. And she's very knowledgeable on hockey, so she knows what's going on. We found out in episode 6 that she is American, actually. She is Russian, but she was, I'm guessing, born in America. And Ilya was considering marrying her to become a citizen. And she does seem like she might be down to clown with that. She seemed like she really is in it with him. I will say I do like that she kind of stopped Ilya from really going in on his brother at that funeral. His brother is trash and he needs to get got. However, she was right for stopping him because he did not get involved in type of violence, type of with the police, anything going on with that. So I'm glad she stopped him when it came to that. She a real one for that one. I'm very curious to know what other role she plays in the narrative going forward. Will she meet Shane in the future? Will she kind of be a part of that like charity they're gonna do? Like what's her thing? Is he actually gonna marry her for real? Like what's gonna happen with her? I really want to know. But I really liked her. She was cool people. Now Rose here, she does function similar in Shane's narrative. You know, she was the actress turned girlfriend, gave Shane the publicity of having a high profile heterosexual relationship. Now I will say what's going on with her with her friend Miles, I think it was, because that one scene there on the dance floor, they were both sandwiched. They sandwiched Shane, and they were kind of like moving and grooving, and I thought they were gonna bust down the three way because that's how it felt. And she even brought up Miles when she was trying to maybe see if Shane was potentially queer at that dinner. So I'm not sure if she, was trying to. I guess you're trying to make a space for Shane to talk because you're like, oh, my friend, you know about him, right? Do you align with him? um, now I will say some of the female characters like her, they occupy a supportive space, which is great. I think that's great for them. It just sucks that that's all they are in a way. Do I need more from her? I guess not. You know what I mean? I guess not. We got a lot of what she had going on through her dynamic with Shane, her exposition about her being an actress and the things she's doing, and then him coming out to her, which he felt comfortable doing. But it would have been nice if we got her POV on when she realized maybe Shane wasn't down for her like that. You know what I mean? We were told like him busting down was not really given a lot. Maybe he didn't last long. Maybe he couldn't get all the way through it. It's all implied. It's all said in a way that's not so direct. And I think it would be nice to kind of get her point of view on that. If she was like, "Oh, what's going on?" Her contemplating talent, like you know what I mean. It'd be kind of nice to have her point of view on that. Because I do like this character. I think she's really witty and funny and like very cool. Especially after they became like best friends and she was very supportive and like being his confidant. Because Shane needed that. He had no one to really talk to about this stuff. In comes Rose, and she was really out here doing her big one when it came to him. So I really appreciate her character for that. I just kind of wish she had more spotlight because I do like her. I do like her. Mama Hollander, what's her name? Yuna. I liked her. I thought she was pretty funny. She does seem like a momager type of character, but she doesn't seem like she's really like focused, but she's not too overbearing with it. It may come off in a way like that, but she is just being a manager. You have to be assertive. You have to do what's best. You have to lay out the options, and I'm glad she did that. But she still is his mother, and she is still holding it down for him. Um, and I like that. I like how they had her very present in the show, like her on set helping him with that photo shoot he did, her with his schedule. Like she was really on top of that. And then episode 6, the whole coming out thing. You know, this kind of betrayal does happen. There's a sense of you feeling upset at yourself because you thought you were a safe space for your child to tell you things, something like this as eating them alive. And we don't know much of her POV, but that's what it seemed like she was very upset by, that he felt like he couldn't tell her something. She even apologized for that. That scene was so touching. They were outside. He brought her cardigan. It was cold outside. So, and she told him to look at him and like she really reassured him, like she apologized and she's like, you can tell me, it was such a whole situation with that. And I just thought it was so nice. But even before that, when they were at the table talking about, she kept getting up. I need a drink, and she got up to wash the dishes. She was kind of going through it. She, it's a shocker. It's a whole thing, but she was very supportive, and that's great. I did think it was funny how after that she was like, "Okay, I'm over it. So what's our name our game plan as your manager? What's our strategy?" She was on top of it, right? And she even questioned Ilya because she was kind of like not like against him. I mean, it was funny when she goes, "But you hate him." When she said that, it was so funny. But she wasn't so against it. But afterwards, she was like, "So you jump teams? I'm trying to see your loyalty. What's going on here?" He was like, "Mom," he's like, "I'm trying to see because he told my son he leaving Boston. Hello, loyalty. I'm just trying. I'm just trying." I love how she was like in work mode right after that. So she's best mom. I really like her. Okay, next we have Shane's dad, and the name is escaping me. I'm so sorry, y'all. Now, this actor I know from Nip Tuck, so it's exciting to see him in this. But is he Canadian? I assume so, right? I know not every actor from this show is Canadian, but like I'm assuming he is. Maybe. But yeah, the dad character, he was barely in the show that much. He was just a supportive parent, probably on the other end because the mother was on the forefront and he was just supporting his wife and kind of, but he is the one who discovered Shane and Ilya kissing at the cottage. Why did he run away like that? Maybe he was overwhelmed. He was shook, shaken, and stirred. I don't know, but he skedaddled quick. He looked, and like I know Ilya saw him, so he couldn't just like act like he didn't see them and kind of sneak away, which they could have done in the show, but they didn't. They made a point to, I guess it's in the book too, where he does catch them. They know that he saw them, and he just ran away. Now Shane going in, and I guess Shane assumed he told her, but he didn't. And I'm like, Dad, you're a real one for that. He a real one for that because he could have went and told his wife, like, "Oh, guess what I saw at the cottage." He lied. He wasn't at no damn retreat. He at that cottage. And he kissing Rosen off. Like what's going on? But he didn't, and I appreciate that. Um, he wasn't as taken back as the mom was. I mean, he was kind of shook because he was like, "Ilya, you have all the women," and they're like, "Well, yeah, he's bisexual, so like, But he was a very supportive parent. Now we don't get like a scene with him and Shane to kind of have like a moment. And obviously, I guess the mom is around Shane more often, so that makes the most sense. And his reaction, he wasn't indifferent. He was kind of shocked and asking questions, but he wasn't upset or disturbed. I mean, the parents did say they were like, we knew, we kind of knew, we had a inkling that you were kind of, like this. But, they didn't really give him time to kind of like, again, no POV. It wasn't like he had a discussion with his wife or anything like that, or any type of situation like that. That would have been nice to have with him. I guess all the characters really who don't get a spotlight. But yeah, I like that. He's cool. Next we have is Kip, Kip, Kip. Okay, before we talk about Kip, let's talk about his dad. Best dad ever. Oh my gosh, his dad. I adore his father. Like the most kind spirit in the show for the little time we saw him. The way they communicate with each other is very precious. I thought it was so nice. That scene when he came back home, I guess after being at Scott's place for so long, not coming home, and giving a hug, and like it was just, you probably saw my reaction. I was kind of tearing up a bit. It was such a touching moment with him. So I think he's so great. And it was so nice to see him at that game at the end. So he saw the whole thing in person during the whole big kiss on the rink. So like that was so nice. Um, Kip's friend, what's her name? Elena. I have a bone to pick with her, kind of, sorta. She is best girl, but her thing about telling Kip that he should be with someone public or pressing Scott about him not keeping Kip a secret. Like, I understand the mentality of that. It sucks that it wasn't Kip's coming to her with this issue and her bouncing back her thoughts. She just brought it up and telling him what she thinks he needs for his life. Because in the show, what was seen, Kip, there was no qualms about him being a secret lover. And obviously, that is a narrative that happens in these type of DL situations, and people tell you that's not good for you. I just would have wished she would have been the character to like be essentially a source of conflict because without her bringing that up, that would have kind of been the reason Kip and Scott break up in a way. Maybe it would eventually got to that. Maybe them being together and the whole thing with Scott coming out on the thing still would have happened. I believe it would still would have happened without her intervening. But the show didn't give us any other context to their relationship after they kind of split apart. So I don't know what happened between that. Maybe the books tell you more. I don't know. You guys let me know. Now, I don't dislike her. I just kind of feel like, girl, what you doing? Anyways, on to Kip. You know, this guy kind of occupies like this young ingenue type of character in a way. I do think it's comical that he is kind of like, maybe not insecure is the word I want to use, but kind of like, he's like, no one's into me, and like, looking the way he looks. I mean, I guess it's the actor's fault for looking the way he does, jacked, chisel jaw, like, he gives you like a Clark Kent archetype, you know what I mean? And I'm like, okay, yeah, you're in between jobs, you're, you know, you need money for school and all these things, and you're struggling, but like, come on, look at you, Kip, come on now, come on now. But I do like how supportive he was in Scott's little journey, because you know, the fact that he was flirting low key. I mean, his homegirl at the thing was kind of like seeing what's going on, so he had someone to kind of like bounce his feelings off of. So he was kind of seeing what was up with Scott, but he didn't really tell his business like that, which I appreciate. And then he decided to, that night when he got invited to the house, he decided to like bust down, and he was so shook about it, and decided to stay. I thought it was so nice. And then when Scott was like kind of going through it, first of all, I love that he made that banana smoothie for him that the morning after. You see my reaction. I was like, is he in there making that smoothie that he always makes for him when he comes in? I'm shook. Those kind of things I appreciate. The whole to be loved is to be known. He knows Scott likes those shapes with the banana, so he made it for him. And as a nice, like, that's so nice to me. I think he's so nice. So like it's so great. And you kind of, cause he's a POV character, you kind of root for him, like in his schooling. I wish we got more narrative with that, with his school stuff. I know that romance was the main focus of the episode, but I would love to know more about his goals and dreams. You know, I think that's such a great thing. But him also giving Scott those socks. He's best boy. He really is. I can see why Scott fell in love with him. Like the show gives you context of why Scott would fall for this person. You know what I mean? Now, old girl told him that he deserves better, yada yada, and him deciding to be like, "Well, this isn't for me. I just can't do this," was a bummer. Like I said, I don't think he would have done that. They would have had the same outcome at the end if he would have just stayed and kind of, you know. I do think maybe in the show he could have been like, "Well, I need to be there around my father more often than here," because he wasn't kept prisoner. He could leave the apartment, from what I understand. So he could have been go his daddy and stuff and still be at Scott's place. But the show didn't show that. Um, I do think it was sad that they broke up, but the part that got me was him returning to his father and being all heartbroken and stuff. And then Scott didn't come to his little thing at the bar. It was kind of like, ooh, it sucked, but I'm glad he got his happy ending. It seemed that whole kiss on the ice was so nice, and he was so nervous going down there. And he was like, "Oh, should I go? Ooh, boy, get down there!" You saw my reaction. I was hollering at Kip he wasn't moving fast enough for me. Scott gave you the green light. You need to go, ho. Come on, get up, Kip. You know what I mean? But I like this character. He's great. Scott Hunter. I don't know what it is. I have such an affection for this character. When we got that whole like twist reveal in episode 3 that it was going to be his narrative that we were watching, I was shook because I'm not gonna lie, I barely knew his name in the other episodes. Most of the characters, I barely knew their name. They didn't even say their name really in the other episodes, and he had a very small part in those episodes. But when he was the main character in episode 3, and I was like, oh, is he? Oh, he is. And they had their whole episode seem like a rom-com film. I just was like, okay, I'm into this. His character being a bit older, an orphan, really makes the parallels to everyone else, because they all have, because like you have Shane, he has both parents. We have Kip, he only has one parent, and we have Scott and Ilya, who have no parents. And Ilya, he had his dad, but you know, you know what's going on with him. For him not to have really anyone, there was no female best friend for him to be a confidant to. None of his teammates. I mean, he seemed friendly enough with Shane, enough to be at that coffee shop with him with the old boy, even though they fall on the ice. I wonder, like, was he clocking Shane and Ilya when he was like, "Oh, you starting to talk like him"? You know what I mean? Like, what was going on with that when he said that, and him and Shane fall on the ice? What was going on with that? I'm very curious about that. Now I like him because those kind of like DL type characters are often jerks in these shows. It's them against the world. They have the world on their shoulders and they can't come out. They're so scared, but they want love. And they're in love and they do all these things. And it just seems like having Scott be upfront with Kip being like, this is what's going on. I feel this way about you, but this is my life. And I'm having a hard time with this. And Kip was very understanding, obviously. And they became lovers, obviously. But the fact that he was very upfront with what's his stuff, he didn't have like a fake girlfriend to like cover up. He wasn't being disrespectful or mean to Kip and like lashing out on him like you usually see in these narratives when it comes to these kind of things. And the person being fed up, but also Kip wasn't nagging him to come out. Now he did try to do out public hangout with Kip, and he panic attack maybe, and it was so heartbreaking for him to kind of like not be okay and him running home and then apologizing to Kip that he at this point he can't and Kim's being supported, and I'm just like, oh, my heart was breaking for him because he was so excited to have someone boot up with. He was so excited to wear those socks that Kip got him, and like his big old speech he did about his parents and like growing up at the thingy. And he was very honest with Kip, like he can't go to that bar because he can't. Like, I just was really feeling for him. He wasn't, in my opinion, seen as a bad guy despite doing something you would deem harmful to Kip. Keeping that secret, keeping him on the low. Like, and like in these shows they do, I watch a lot of these series, and this kind of happens a lot. So I'm glad they went the route of him not being a douchey, jerky character like that. Now his big old come to the rink, come down here, Kip, had me shook, y'all. When I tell you I was shook, I was shaking, I was stirred, I was disturbed, I was all the things. I was going through it with him. I was. Hold on, yeah. I was going through it with him. Now in that episode, I kind of wish we got more context, at least a scene, because I think it's been 2 years since that last moment we saw them together. Remember? Was it 2 years? Did they talk? Why was Kip there? Y'all mentioned Scott Hunter in the beginning of the episode, and we ain't see him again until the end. That's not fair to us. We need a scene with Scott. We need a scene with Kip. Maybe they reconcile or they reunite and he invited to the game, the championship game, which he happened to win. But anyways, the fact that he saw his teammates with their families on the ice and he was by himself was so sad. But then he saw Kip and he was like, you know what? When I get this feeling, and the feeling went over him, and he was like, come down here. And he kissed that boy in front of everybody. And then in episode 6, he had that speech, him coming out, the whole thing. I just stand Scott Hunter. Scott Hunter, I just stand him. He's so great. He is so great. Ilya. Okay, first of all, number one, I don't think Ilya is such of a jerk that I guess is supposed to be conveyed in the show. You know what I mean? Obviously, he's a bit softer, kinder, nicer, lovey-dovey towards episode 5 and 6, towards Shane. And early on, that wasn't the case, but he wasn't a massive jerk at how it's portrayed. Like, I'm like, I don't see it like that. Yeah, maybe he's very straightforward and cold in some ways, and he did get pissy at Shane. Was it because he lost that game? Remember he saw him at that skating rink, at that skating competition, and he was like, "Oh, you ain't responding to me." He was like being mean to him a little bit. What's going on there? I think 'cause he lost the game, right? Is that the reason, or was it family stuff? It could be both. Anyways, Ilya, his character is probably the most interesting because of the familial issues he was having. With his brother, with his dad, it seemed like the world was on his shoulders for real because, he had to fund his family, his brother doing drugs and blowing his money away, and all those things was kind of crazy. And then he had to, like, I guess, pay his brother to be there with his father who has dementia. It was a lot. We found out later he lost his mother and how that happened, which was very upsetting and sad. But despite all this, he does seem like a very strong character, strong person, but he is still human. Him breaking down, fighting his brother, him in Russian confessing him wanting to be with Shane and getting away from where he is in Russia and how the things would go there. He was, to me, the most fleshed out in a way with multiple things going on with him. He doesn't have the same hangups as Shane. Like obviously he's not trying to come out and be a public couple like that, but he's not so guarded when it comes to that. You know what I mean? I think he said he wished his dad would have really knew him in a way, and I'm not sure what that would have meant. Maybe sexuality or something like that, or another side to him. I don't know, but I'm glad that he expressed that. Um, I do think showcasing him like with these women, that one guy, what was that guy he dated? Low key on the low, the coach's son. That was very interesting. Like he has a lot of things going on with him. He has more experience in queer relationships than Shane, which is good. He taught some Shane some things. He really taught some Shane some things. He was very assertive with Shane, and I mean that scene alone when he was in the shower and he gave the signal. I was kind of like, Ilya, how Shane was down to clown? I mean, I guess he been new. And him also being a little antagonistic with it, like him touching his lower back when they did that speech. Even him going down on him when he was on the phone with old boy, like he is so aggy. And speaking of, episode 6 is the funniest I've seen his character. His deadpan, straightforward responses was so fun. Like when we met the parents and he was like, "Hi." After he introduced it, I thought was so funny. Or when he got scared at that griffin that was cawing in the background, I thought it was so funny how he teases Shane. Now he was kind of funny in the beginning when he teased Shane. I just think the last 2 episodes, his really teasing Shane was so hilarious. I was cracking up. I was like, Ilya, is he my favorite after Scott Hunter? I think so. As far as like main characters go, I think it's Scott Hunter and then it's Ilya, right? He might be my favorite actually, now I'm thinking about it. I just thought he was such a compelling individual. You know, I, I really like Ilya, y'all. I really like Ilya. Now, his shift for like falling in love with Shane and kind of want to be with him and like him becoming way softer in episode 6, I was kind of like shook. I kind of wish we saw a little bit earlier on, and maybe we did. Maybe we did saw a little bit earlier on, especially episode 4. I just, because he can be kind of closed off and upset and hot headed, but not so much so. So I guess it makes sense. I don't know. I think he's great. Shane Hollander. Oh my gosh, this boy right here. Is he the main character? I would say so. I mean, obviously, share the spotlight with Ilya. They both have their own POV and narrative and dynamics with each other and other people, obviously. But I would argue that he's like the main. You know what I mean? Shane, how should I say this? I like Shane. Is he a nervous wreck most times? He sure is. He's really in his feelings about a lot of things. And the show didn't do this, but I wonder what pressures he might have as being a hockey player. Does he have any of that? The show doesn't really delve into that, but like we know that he's successful. He makes all this money. I mean, he built a cottage for goodness sake. Both his parents. I mean, his main struggle is the sexuality thing. Was it episode 5 or episode 4 where he came out to Ilya? What episode was that? Was it 5? He came to terms with him being gay. Now, you know, he was already busting down Ilya for years now, but he got shook when they were making out, and I wish we would have knew why he got shook. I mean, actually, we can read between the lines. It got too real for him, hearing Ilya call him Shane for what seems like the first time. And he skedaddled, and all of a sudden he's at this party, and he decided to be with Rose, why did he do that? Did he just want to be with someone and he only knew he could really be with someone if it was a woman? And he kind of was like, okay, let me see what's up with Rose. Did he pursue her like that? Did she pursue him? I don't know. But she was his beard. Did she know she was a beard? Maybe. Maybe she did. Maybe she didn't. But she caught on quick, though. She caught on quick. Now, him busting down her after he saw Ilya at that club, I wonder what was his thought process. I wish the show gave us more context to these characters. And a lot of them don't have people to talk to until later on in the show. Like he didn't have Rose until later on after they like broke up and became besties. It was gonna be kind of nice. And but I wonder what's going on with him. But the context clues are there. Like when he was really pissy at that lunch with his parents, which I was like, damn, I'm saying like calm down. Like okay. He didn't want to go with the princess at that thing. He didn't want to do the things for Rolex. You know what I mean? Like I'm just kind of like, Shane, what's going on? And he's very, very emotional, very in his feelings. But I like that he always expresses that. Like it was to a point where he was like, "No, we're talking about this." After they were like in Tampa and they wanted to talk, he was like, "We gotta talk about this. We need to." He came out to Ilya, which we're all like, "Okay, well, all right, you go off. I'm glad you said it." But then he was like, he feels a way about him. He wants to be with him. Yada yada yada. Let's not act like we're not feeling the way we feel. I know you feel it too. And Ilya's like, we can't be doing this. And then what was touching, I thought, was when he got injured and he was like, the people in his life, he needs to know that he's okay or like need to see what's up with his parents and Ilya. And like, oh, I liked it when like Ilya was kind of like concerned for him on the ice. Remember when he fell down? And Ilya what didn't go to him, but he was orbiting around him, and they kept telling him to like back up, go away. And he couldn't, cause that's his Shane. I mean, that was one of the moments you realize that's his Shane. He didn't want to go nowhere. And then he invited him to the cottage, and then I know it meant a lot to Shane in a way to see Scott do that whole thing on the ice to the point where he was shaking and stirred. And then when Ilya called him, said, I'm going to the cottage, he was like, and he picked him up. He picked them up. And he was like, they were driving there and they were holding hands. And he really wanted Ilya to be honest with him. And he was honest with him. And they had all these talks and he was really getting to know him. I mean, I think episode 4, he was really getting to know him as well. Talking about his family and stuff. But he also divulged information about him and his parents. And I just think he's more of an open book and he's willing to be vulnerable. That's the word. He's very vulnerable of an individual. And I just think that is so great about his character. But he's so vulnerable that he's panicking. You know, the dad found out. He was going through it, losing his mind. Even though he had all these plans to like them actually to be together when they retire. We're going to like tone down our like public rivalry that we don't like each other by doing a foundation. And it was so touching after we learned about Ilya's mom and him wanting to name the foundation after her and what the foundation was for. Oh, Shane. Is Shane my favorite character? I think I love our 4 main boys so much. They're so thoughtful. They're so supportive. They're the things you want in your partner. You know what I mean? I just think him being so like in touch with his feelings and very, I just Shane, you real for that? You so real for that? And I like that he didn't push Ilya away once the dad found out, because that also happens in these shows. They get caught and he kind of pushes the love interest away because like, you know, like this is gonna ruin his life. But he was freaking out, but he leaned into Ilya, and Ilya was being really, really, really supportive. So like he felt safe and he really feels the feels for him. So like it makes sense. But it was him against the world, him and Ilya against the world, and he was so shook. When I tell you shook, when Ilya definitely called him his boyfriend, and he was like, boyfriend? Like he's like, yeah, like that's what, yeah. And I don't know why I like that, because they didn't specify that that's what they were. You know what I mean? And that probably was the first time that was even brought up, and that's when it happened. And Shane was like, wait, for real? And then he talked with his mom. He opened up to his mom about this, and it's a whole thing with him. And I just I like the fact that he still was so anxious and worried about what's going on with him, even after he told his parents and they were cool with it. He still was freaking out. His character's consistent. He's been this way since the beginning. He's been like scared and worried and da da da. Remember they bust down that one time and he was like, Scott Hunter is right next door. You had me waiting outside. Like he's so worrisome about everything. He's very consistent with that. Um Now I do want to know why he tried to fight Scott on the ice. Obviously, we know maybe he implied something, maybe not. We don't know for sure, but it would be nice to kind of get some context to that, you know? But yeah, I like Shane. Okay, guys, we're at the end. Any other things I want to say? Freaking Alias brother. Oh my gosh. I mean, the characters are great antagonistic type of force in the narrative, so like go up. Also, who's that black player that they're always hanging out with? What's his deal? He's fine. Oh, and Shane's friend, the one that has all the babies. This show uses all these characters to kind of get our main characters to start thinking about things like Elena with Kip, and then you have um Savannah. I can't pronounce her name. Her, I guess, kind of letting Ilya know that she knows he has feelings. He's in love with the Jane. Then oh boy, Shane's friend with the babies. He, kept trying to hook him up with potential dates and ask him when he's gonna have kids. Like really digging home that Shane isn't like him. He's different. He ain't they on the same team. They on the same team. They're not on the same team. You know what I mean? They're not on the same team. Those characters function that way. Now, I do have some criticism of the show. One, there doesn't seem to be a plot per se, and what I mean is, like, our character, like, how do I say this? I do think like episode 3 was more of a story that was beginning, middle, end kind of thing. A romance happening, the things that happened, like it was seemed like a more condensed story. It was exactly that. I think their story was a whole book, from what I understand. Kip and Scott, it was a whole book, and they condensed it down into one episode. And I guess they had like little pieces of it in episode 5, but it was a whole episode and it was a whole narrative. I think with Shane and Ilya, there was no narrative there, no plot there, no, you know what I mean? Because the show doesn't present hockey as important in a way. Like they are hockey players, that's the background, but the show isn't about hockey. It's not even about the team. It's not like ensemble kind of thing like you do see in sports anime. It's about the romance between these two characters who happen to be hockey players. And it's a great background for things, but we never see the hockey games. We don't know what's important, what game we're coming up on, what they're training for because they go to practice. None of that is, we're not giving any clues. We see them before a game, we see them after a game, we see clips during a game, but like it's not that important in the narrative. So like, oh, they won, oh, they lost, and we're not being seen. I guess with Ilya we know like this is funding his family's, his dad is, health is declining, he's funding his family, that kind of thing. So we see his reasoning for doing it, or maybe continues to do it, and his, like, we don't see the pressure of them being hockey players and what that means to them, what they're doing, what their goals are, what their obstacles are as hockey players. None of that is presented in a way, you know what I mean? It's all character driven, which I do like. I do like character driven narratives, like how they did here. It just, there's lots of montages in the show, lots of time skips. I mean, even in the episode of the cottage, we just jump into conversation to conversation, up and around the cottage, all over. We don't know what days have gone by or whatever. And I like that they had conversations with each other, Shane and Ilya. I think that was nice. It just, we had 10 different conversations and 10 different scenes in one location. And I know we're in a cottage, but it would have been great. Like in episode 5, you know what, it would have been great? If episode 3 and 4 were merged together. Like half of episode 3 is Scott and Kip, and then, Ilya and Shane. When add the stuff that happened, like half of the stuff that happened in episode 4, put it in episode 3. The other half of episode 3 that happened with Scott and Kip, put that in episode 4. So we can jump back and forth between the pairs in the episode. it would have made it feel a bit more like we're getting the story broken up some. Because having back to back scenes with just Ilya and Shane hanging out, flirting at the bar, at the pool, like it was a lot of like that, which I don't mind it. It was just so much of it. It was so much of it that I was like, I wish we had like hockey problems. There's a someone trying to like draft them, and or there's an antagonistic team that are trying to go against that are really a rival to them. Even that, the rivalry between the two boys is just told to us. I kind of wish they were really out here. I mean, they were busting down in the first episode, so like I don't know how we're supposed to perceive a they don't like each other because we know they've been busting down. Yeah, they've been trash talking each other on the ice, but like it's we know they're texting each other and sexting and all these things. We know that, so like it wasn't even showcased that they were really out here at least pretending to be rivals on the thing. The show told us that. I mean, even the mom at the end was like, "Y'all hate each other. Y'all got issues." Even the nurse came in when Ilya was like attending to Shane. She's like, "Oh, hey, don't smother him." Like they're presented as they don't like each other, but like we don't see that. And I don't know if we need to. I don't know. I just kind of wish there was a bit more done. Like we see a goal for Shane, and then also he's dealing with his sexuality. We see a goal for Ilya, but also he's dealing with his family. You know what I mean? Like I wish we guys saw more of that. More obstacles. Maybe trying to get this endorsement deal. Maybe doing something that could potentially compromise that. Like these small bits of conflicts to kind of maybe help the characters grow. Cause like even in the show, like I said, Kip wouldn't have had any issues with being the DL boyfriend of the old girl that's saying that thing. You know what I mean? If Rose didn't tell Shane like you might be queer, he probably wouldn't have came to, like I mean he probably would have. These all these things that people did, they just sped run the process in a way because these things probably would have happened anyways at a slower pace if these characters didn't kind of be the catalyst for them to like realize their feelings or realize what they wanted or what they should be doing. You know what I mean? I wish it was a bit more fleshed out in a way, but this kind of happens when you have a romance-led show and that the show is the romance. They're like gratuitous sex scenes, gratuitous romance scenes, and we love that. We do. It's just, I wish it was more. I wish it was more. But I do like the show. I think that the director, Jacob, I think he like wrote and directed it. He did, like I said, my reaction to his big one, I really think he did a phenomenal job. I think the actors did a phenomenal job. They really did their big one on this one. Everybody was top tier on this show. From the minor characters to the main characters. I just thought it was so great. The cinematography, the location. I mean, every hotel room they had, every apartment they had, the cottage, everything looked immaculate. I'm like, I don't know what the budget was, but y'all got the sets on deck. The cinematography, those wide shots they did all the time in the show were so good. The color, like, it was just such a good visual medium. I just think it was great. I can't wait to see what happens in season 2. So yeah, I'm very curious on your thoughts. Let me know what you think of each character, what you think of my opinions on each character. Do you agree? Do you disagree? You can disagree with me. No problem. Just talk to me nice. Okay? Let's not get wild and crazy, kids. Okay? Let's calm down. Let's calm down. You need to calm down. But yeah, let me know your thoughts. Again, watch the show with me on Patreon, link below, and I will see you guys in the next one.